Welcome to the Steven Rotsart podcast. I'm your host, Steven Rotsart, and I'm excited to share and bring you value of tips and tricks in the real estate industry, and especially have guests on that have impacted my life and have brought me to another level, not only in my business, but also in the real estate industry. I'm excited to share these guests with you. Stay tuned.
Hey, welcome back to the podcast. This is actually just a dynamic day because we have a guest from Northern California, from the Paso Robles area. Mike Massey is one of the most renowned agents in the area. And what's so specific about Mike is that he's actually a buyer specialist. And I think what's super critical in this time, and especially right now where we are with the real estate market the way it is, I think that he can provide and shed some incredible insights as to where we're at and where we're headed, and even compare and contrast our state. I'm in the San Diego market, Mike's in the Paso Robles market, but you'd be amazed at how similar those things are. So Mike, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Steven. Great to be here.
So for everybody that doesn't really know who you are, why don't you give us your elevator pitch and kind of little insights about what makes up the Massey, so that everybody knows that you're not this famous fighter that you possibly look like.
Definitely. I appreciate you saying that. A lot of people say I look like Canelo Álvarez. If you go on my social media, you go on my YouTube channel, half of the comments are, yo, Canelo, didn't know you're selling real estate. Yo, Canelo. No, my name is Michael Massey. I sell real estate in the Central Coast of California, Paso Robles region, right there with Napa when it comes to the wine region. Been in this business about 5 years. Before that, I was a failed stand-up comedian. I got into stand-up comedy during the college time. Lived in kind of Southern California, Orange County area, Newport Beach. Got into real estate there about 5 years or so ago. Grew up here in Paso Robles, moved back here, and been doing it ever since, and love it to death. But as I tell all my clients when they start working with me, laid back, funny. I take what I do seriously. I do not take myself seriously whatsoever.
That's awesome. What's your kind of average house price point that you kind of work there, so people have some understanding of what the Paso Robles market is?
Yeah, I would say pretty much since the huge boom of, pre-COVID and then post-COVID, average price point in my area went from $525. We're probably sitting around $750, $725 now for a 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,500 square foot home.
And lot size does that get you?
That's going to get you probably a 16,000 square foot lot. Okay. 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,500 square foot home. But we're also seeing in this market a lot of those, at those times, those were like the starter homes. Right. You're probably seeing it in your area. We're seeing a lot of my generation either leave the area, they're either stuck renting, they're moving to Idaho, they're moving to Tennessee. We're seeing that exodus. Here, that price point, we're starting to see slow down a little bit. But the price point I'm seeing still be pretty hot is the $1.25 million, $1.5 million and higher with that. And
so what you're saying is kind of like, as we've seen these rates creep up dramatically in a very short amount of time, you haven't really seen a real change. There's not this crash as everybody fears in the media that really is happening across the marketplace. I mean, even with rate 7.25%, you're still seeing $1 million homes, really, go on the market and sell in reasonable amount of times. There's no one that's, let's say, for lack of a better term, taking it in the shorts with dramatic price crashes. And still, let's say, entry-level housing is still holding their values at this time.
Yes, we're still seeing that. And it goes back to when I first realized it was slowing down maybe 4 or 5 months ago. If the home is priced correctly, and it comes down to the agent. If it's priced correctly, if the pictures are professional pictures and it looks decent, we're still seeing multiple offers on those $850 million homes that are priced right, and they're going within a week like we've been seeing for the last 2 years or so because it's priced right. Now, I'm still seeing some homes that I think they're pushing it on price. We have seen it cool a little bit in this market, and some agents have realized that and some others haven't. And unfortunately, it's going to be the sellers who are going to be, oh, my home's going to sit on the market for 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks longer, and we may have to do some price corrections to fix that.
And what's interesting is, and I think you come from a perspective, now you operate in a team format, is that correct? Where you
correct.
are
Mhm.
Okay. And I think what's so critical is you're a buyer specialist. So basically, for the better part of this 2 years of during COVID, I would say you probably worked your tail off representing buyers,
Yeah.
probably not getting what they wanted or overpaying to get what they get. Are you seeing a different marketplace for your buyers right now in your market? Because we are here.
Absolutely. For the last 2 years or so, it was a lot of FOMO, fear of missing out, of buyers writing $200,000-$300,000 over asking price, 30 offers on a home, just the craziest thing on earth, pretty much giving their firstborn child to get into this home. Nowadays, just talking about the deal I just closed on Monday. We got that home $25,000 under asking price with $8,000 towards their closing cost.
You've never seen that in the past 2 years.
Yeah, just 4 or 5 months ago, you couldn't do that. That's incredible. We had offers where buyers were covering closing costs for the sellers. And now where I'm seeing it is we can be a little more flexible on price. We can get those closing costs covered. 2-to-1 interest rate buy down. It just gives so many more opportunities for buyers in this market to have a little more say and flexibility. Yes, interest rates are very high right now, but it gives buyers a lot more flexibility and comfort, I'm seeing. Because during these last 2-3 years, there were a lot of buyers who, okay, we're offering $250,000, $300,000 over asking price. We're competing against 15, 20 other offers. This is just kind of uncomfortable, but we really want to get this home. And in the market that I'm in, we saw a huge influx of Bay Area and Los Angeles buyers and investors looking for second homes, retirement homes. Yeah.
Well, and I think that, we saw that here in San Diego County as well. If you lived in an urban environment or a condo high rise and COVID breaks out, the first thing you're doing is like, well, I'm going to go buy a house that has a yard that I can get outside with, or have some type of property that has some actual land with it. So we definitely saw that transition in our marketplace as well. And I think, one of the big things I think that is unique is that the market's not crashing. I think that what is so unique about where we are with the market is that our buyers are actually getting opportunities. And, I know that you are a buyer specialist, but are you having to coach listing agents about your offers? Or are they very, I'm sure listing agents are getting 1 to 2 offers per property instead of an influx, but are you having to do any coaching on your end to better understand and the offer you're presenting to a listing agent?
Yeah, definitely. I've been seeing that, and it's more of just, and we are seeing, the 1 or 2, or maybe the home comes out in 2 weeks later, and then it's the buyer that I'm coaching a lot more with the buyer. Well, it was literally like, throw everything you have at the wall and see if it sticks. So let's see if we can get this home. And now it's the conversations with the buyer as, can we wait a little longer? Are they going to come back down on price? What's going to happen? How flexible can we get? Hey, Michael, can I give you the most absurd low ball offer? You and I were kind of talking about this briefly before we hopped on here. And just see if that can go with it. And I'm like, that would never go with it. That's not what we think. And I've had the conversation with clients of, is this 2007, 2011? There's nothing showing that that's going to be the case whatsoever. We have seen this last 2-3 years, you and I have been fortunate as could be to live through this incredible market that we've been in, and how hot and crazy as it is. And we're kind of getting back to reality. And it was crazy just a few months ago. I'm like, oh my goodness, I was the only one who wrote on that home, and we got the home at asking price. I remember when I did that 3 years ago. And now I get to do that again, because that's just what a normal market is. And we're not going to head to a crash. We are seeing it slow down a bit. But Zillow came out this week saying that they think prices next year are going to increase about 2% year over year. Healthy market is on average, it's about 3 to 4%. From about 2012 to now, we've been seeing it at about, I think, almost 6 to 8% year over year. And then the last couple of years, it's just blown up. Here we've seen 20, 25 to 30%. But in regards to the coaching, it's more of just feeling the listing agent out. Same way of, I felt the listing agent out over the last 2 to 3 years of just, hey, Michael, give me your highest and best. Literally, I don't want to be giving you counters. I literally want to look at the 20, 30 offers, and I'm accepting the best and craziest one. And now it's just, where's the comfort level? Where are you thinking here?
In your market, from your perspective, would you say it's a seller's market, or would you say that it's a buyer's market, or is it a seller's market still, but sellers are being reasonable?
I would say it's a seller's market still, and the sellers that are being reasonable are selling their homes.
That's perfect.
And the sellers that are just, I'm still reaching for the sky here, their homes are going to sit, and we see that, or when we see the price reductions. And, I think every seller wants to get the most for their home, but make it as quickly and easy as a process as possible. Nobody wants their home to sit.
Right.
So yeah, that's how I would say it. The sellers who understand where this market is, they're selling their homes.
So you and I have the luxury of kind of masterminding and networking with a lot of real estate agents across the United States. Have you had to adjust what you do as a realtor, either to attract new clients, do something different? Are you doing anything in your marketplace or for you personally that's actually kind of elevating your game and separating yourself as an agent?
For me, number one, and it's how you and I were connected, and I'm one of the few people I would say in the area who really understands it, video marketing, social media marketing. I spend 30 minutes every single day going through my LinkedIn, my Instagram, my Facebook, commenting, liking, following, and just creating a conversation really with my SOI. But I think video marketing for me is what sets me apart. Most people who know me, realtors in the area who don't know me personally, who haven't done a deal, they're like, oh, you're the video guy. So I've gotten that many times. So I would say that's what separates me here in this market that's slightly shifted and changed. I cold called for the first time this week, and probably since the first year I was in this business.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And how was that?
It was good. I personally, the cold calling thing was always just kind of different to me, but I'm very comfortable at it. And it goes well, and I have 2 follow-ups next week from it. At the end of the day, when it comes to getting in this business, especially brand new agents, but we understand it, it's whoever's talking to the most people is going to do the most business. And but there's numerous ways to do it. Everyone thought it was always cold calling. You can do it through social media. You can post a video online and just naturally or organically get 5,000 views on it, and you can create so many conversations from that. Or you can connect with a lender or a realtor in another area, and who knows what business you can get from that as well. So I think when it comes to branding and marketing and just getting your name out there, that's the most important thing you can do. Tom Ferry, who, you and I are both a big fan of Tom Ferry, he talks about if you're a brand new agent, market, and brand. Separate yourself and make people really understand who you are. And I don't know, my new favorite clients who I just closed on a few months ago, I worked with them for probably a year and a half. And I asked them once, what connected you with me? They're like, Michael, we Googled you. You were one of the first names that popped up. But in your website link, to click website, it wasn't a website. It took you us to your YouTube channel. And it took you to the YouTube video that was my biography, where I'm sitting downtown Paso Robles Library steps in the community park, where if you live in Paso, you know where that is. Yeah. And you just talked about yourself in the community and this and that. And we understood, okay, that's our guy. And then we met you in person, and okay, and you're exactly who we thought you were going to be. So it's one of those things. It's something I was thinking about last week. I listen to podcasts constantly when I'm driving. And one of the guys I was listening to was all like, hey, I'm doing this thing in Atlanta if you want to come down to Atlanta. And I was just thinking, if I can't make it, unfortunately, but if I did, but it's just like, if you met those people who you listen to all the time on video, on podcasts, it's like you've known them forever. When I met Neil for the first time, when I met you at his little mastermind, it's like I've known him. It's like I've known him for a while, and it's just comfort. But that's what video and podcast and communication just does.
And I think it's made such a difference, especially in our industry. I will tell you, I was one of those agents that probably really despised video initially, because I really just was caught up in my head more than anything, and what it's supposed to look like, how professional it needs to be, how does it have to be like this. And I think the thing is, and what agents need to understand is that video really actually just helps you. And you can hear people, and there's different coaches out there that'll tell you that your vibe will attract your tribe. And there's a lot of truth to that. Yeah. And I know that Mike's on here, as a buyer specialist, but we have a large listing presentation here in San Diego County, especially in East San Diego County. And I think the specifics of it is that if you don't like the way I talk, or you don't like my mannerisms, video has already separated us at that point. And so it's elevated the conversations to be real high quality conversations with clients that really need our services. And I really have appreciated that. We've incorporated video in almost everything we do now. And, I'm very lucky to be part of Neil's mastermind and the Forward Academy group that brought us together, and you and I have kind of bonded from that point. But I think the biggest thing is that clients have the ability now, and we're seeing it definitely in probably certain age groups more than anything. There are certain age groups that almost require you to have a social presence, be on video, and you have to be providing some type of value before you even get the chance to actually work with those people, to actually help them. And I think they want to learn and know about you and what you bring to the table. At least I found that. So the social proof definitely is something, but I think that our markets are very similar between Paso Robles and San Diego, and I think our price points are probably not too far off. It is a wonderful 80 degrees here in San Diego, but my understanding is a little warmer there today, Mike?
Yeah, about 100 here today. So yeah, it's hot. It's hot. Yeah, should have put the shorts on today, but in jeans today.
Thanks for dressing up. Yeah. I think one of the things, if you were giving advice to a buyer in this market with rates at 7.25%, what is your number one kind of go-to thing right now in this marketplace? This
is the number one question I get from first-time home buyers and from people who message me, excuse me, on Instagram. Mike, interest rates are 7.25, 7.5, this and that. It always comes down to, can you afford the home? Can you afford the monthly payment? And if you're comfortable with that, then absolutely go and buy a home and start building your wealth and what it can do. First of all, you can Google the difference between a renter and a homeowner in wealth throughout their entire life and what it does. I tell them that if you can afford to buy a home, if you can afford the month-to-month payment, buy a home. And understand, if you're, hugging a 7.5% interest rate, you can refi down the road when those interest rates go down. So then discussing that with them, and also what I'm seeing, and I'm seeing it, and you might be seeing it too as well, is giving a credit for an interest rate buy down to the lender from the seller that they're going to pay that. So working on a deal right now where the seller is willing to give $10,000 to the buyer to help them buy down their interest rate and save them, couple $100, few $100 a month on their monthly payment. That's huge.
So that really can make a difference of whether or not you actually can even get into the property, because
absolutely
you can qualify at a 7.25%.
Yeah.
But help your budget by a few $100s a month. I mean, that really can make a difference in really your living environment and how you actually are going to be a successful homeowner.
Absolutely. And that was the same conversation I had with this client when we were talking about this property, because of where they were asking price wise, the seller. And I'm like, hey, they're marketing here that they're going to give us X amount to help pay down your interest rate. And then we spoke with the lender, we huddled up, and at the end of the day, the math worked out.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I think there's just so many opportunities, and it's funny. I was actually I got to post this to my story because I've gotten hit up so much lately with messages about, Steve, you're always saying that it's a great opportunity and it's a great time to get into real estate and to buy a property. If you're saying that all the time, what's the difference between the market right now and the market was, 2 years ago? Well, I mean, the market is different, but there's more opportunities for buyers. I mean, back then you could have a 2.5%, 3% interest rate.
Yeah.
Now you actually could probably even get better terms, even though your interest rate's higher. You actually could be paying a little bit less for that same house than you were 2 years ago.
Absolutely. And that's something huddled on with a lender on a call last week. And we talked about that and just comparing from where it was, I believe it was 12 months ago to now, to where it's really very little difference, if not more, just to where pricing is right now. Yeah.
Where do you see this headed? So all right, we're coming up on midterms. This will be posted right before the midterms come out, obviously. I mean, rates basically on our end from our data show that they're basically going to hold through the midterm elections. And then where they head into next year, let's say is an unknown factor, but what do you see here in?
I see it pretty much. I hear so many different people, and here's how I try to educate myself. I listen to when it comes to people, when it comes to the economy, and when it comes to housing. I listen to the most pessimistic and the most optimistic people and see where they try to maybe align, or to where some things I'm like, if they're both saying it, then this might be true. I think, and I talk to people who are like, this market's going to crash. The market's going to crash. I'm like, I have no idea why you think that. Why? I'm like, why do you think that? And they're like, it's just bound to. How much it's blown up over the last couple of years. I don't think it's going to. I think we're seeing it slow down. We're still seeing we still have a good amount of buyers in the market. We do have less inventory, but the market's still healthy. We're still seeing appreciation. And I think the housing market is still going to appreciate. We're just not going to see 20 to 30% appreciation that we've seen over the last 2-3 years. So that would probably put me in the camp of optimistic. I don't think anything, unless something that is out of our control and that we don't see coming happens, you never know about that stuff.
Right.
But right now, today, Michael Massey is optimistic about where the housing market's going in 2023.
I'm pretty right along with you. I do think that, we're going to have a little bit of a retraction in the economy as a whole. And the real estate market is going to have to be affected by that. But I don't see a crash. We don't have the inventory. We're still hovering right around 2 months worth of inventory for the buyers in the marketplace. And that's countywide in San Diego. And builders have already started to pull back. So if they're not building any new homes, which there are only limited parts in San Diego County where there's actually new construction, there might be more up in your area, but really here we're kind of limited with what's left of buildable parcels. And we've already seen a retraction in that. So if we're controlling the amount of supply that's in the marketplace, but the buyer pool is still continuing and developing and in some ways even growing, I don't see it. I mean, I do see prices probably cooling off compared to what they were, but it's a normal market. That's basically what we had. I don't see housing prices really dramatically changing too much. I do believe that there are probably certain areas that will get affected more than others, at least in our county. And those are spot neighborhoods that are somewhat unique. But past that point, I think overall the health of the marketplace is right there for any buyer to go ahead and feel confident enough to get into this marketplace.
I 100% agree. 100% agree.
So what's on the horizon for you in 2023? What's Mike Massey's life's ambitions and things that are coming up, and how he's serving his clients for 2023? Anything special?
2023, what I'm really focusing on, and towards the end of this year, we always huddle in and we just work on, okay, let's dial into our CRM. Let's work on what is next year going to look like for us. And you always should try doing that 60, 90 days out. So October, here we are during that time. So for me, it's really how much can I put video into every aspect of my business, of being there and of just educating people as much as I possibly can about everything when it comes to the real estate market. So for me, what is going to look like, what 2023 I hope to look like for me, is increasing my education value video probably times 5. Like just as much as possible. Just really get my YouTube channel in, do stuff with you like this as much as I possibly can, and with other people, and just try to really push myself to get as uncomfortable as possible, but to grow as much as possible so I can help my clients.
So we're going to continue this, and we're going to have another session.
Yeah.
But I think for future, what do you see topics being? I mean, there's a lot changing with regards to what the governor's doing in the state of California, higher density models, lot parcels changing, things like that. Are those some of the topics that we should be covering, Mike?
I definitely think it is. So that will affect your clients. That's going to affect my clients. And so that is definitely something that we should touch base on for sure.
Absolutely. Well, Mike, I look forward to continuing this. Thanks so much for taking time out of your day to be on the podcast. And we enjoyed having you as a guest.
My pleasure, Notorious. My pleasure.